The rain came down in sheets that October afternoon, blurring the windows of Maren Cole's studio apartment into watercolor impressions of the city beyond. She stood at the glass coffee growing cold in her hands, watching Portland dissolve into gray. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "Can we talk?" Maren's thumb hovered over the screen. Three words that once meant nothing now carried the weight of unspoken things. She set the phone down, face down, like she could hide from it. The rain drummed harder. She had been avoiding this call for 2 weeks now, ever since her mother had mentioned in that careful voice she used for difficult things that there was something they needed to discuss. Something about the house. The old house on Willow Creek Road where Maren had grown up, where her parents had torn each other apart in slow motion over 18 years. Her mother wanted to sell it, needed to sell it, and she wanted Maren to redesign it first. One last gift. One last chance to make something beautiful out of all that brokenness. The irony wasn't lost on Maren. She built spaces for other people to live, in spaces filled with light and possibility, while her own life remained a carefully constructed shell. 2 years since the divorce. 2 years of proving to herself that she was fine alone, that she didn't need anyone, that she was enough. The knock at her door came soft, familiar. "Maren, I can hear you not answering your phone from out here." Iris. Of course it was Iris. Maren opened the door to find her best friend standing there with two paper bags from their favorite Thai place, rain-soaked and smiling that smile that made the gray day seem less heavy. "You're dripping on my doormat," Maren said. "You're avoiding your life," Iris countered, pushing past her into the apartment. "So we're even." Iris Dawson moved through Maren's space like she belonged there. She always had, even back in college when they'd first met in a photography elective that Maren had taken on a whim. Iris had been the one to photograph Maren's first architectural models, had stayed up with her through countless all-nighters, had held her when David left, and taken half of Maren with him. 10 years of friendship. 10 years of Iris being the one constant thing in a life that kept shifting beneath Maren's feet. "I brought pad thai and spring rolls," Iris said, setting the bags on the counter. "And before you say you're not hungry, I'm not leaving until you eat something. You look like you haven't slept in days." Maren wanted to argue, wanted to say she was fine. Instead, she sank onto the couch and let Iris take care of her the way she always did. They ate in comfortable silence, the rain a steady percussion against the windows. Iris had changed out of her wet jacket, borrowed one of Maren's oversized sweaters that hung loose on her smaller frame. Her dark hair was still damp, curling at the ends. She looked like she belonged in this moment, in this apartment, in Maren's life. "Your mom called me," Iris said finally. Maren's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Of course she did. She's worried about you, said you won't return her calls. She wants me to redesign the house." "I know." Iris set down her food, turned to face Maren fully. "And I think you should do it." "You can't be serious." "I am." Iris's voice was gentle but firm. "Maren, you've been stuck for 2 years. Stuck in this apartment, stuck in your routine, stuck in your fear. Maybe this is exactly what you need, a way to face everything you've been running from." Maren looked away out at the rain. "I'm not running." "You are. You've been running since the divorce. Since before the divorce, if we're being honest." Iris reached over, took Maren's hand. Her touch was warm, grounding. "Let me help you. I'll document the project. Photographs of the renovation process. It'll be good for both of us. I need a new portfolio piece anyway." The thing about Iris was that she made everything sound possible, made the impossible seem like just another step forward instead of a chasm too wide to cross. "When do we start?" Maren heard herself say. Iris's smile could have lit the whole gray city. The house on Willow Creek Road stood at the end of a long gravel drive hidden behind overgrown maples that had turned blood red with autumn. Maren hadn't been back in 5 years. Not since her father had moved out for good, leaving only her mother rattling around in all those empty rooms. Now the house looked smaller somehow, sadder, like it had been holding its breath for too long. Maren's mother, Eleanor, waited on the porch. She had aged in the months since Maren had last seen her face thinner, her movements careful. Something twisted in Maren's chest, a recognition she didn't want to name. "You came," Eleanor said, and there was relief in her voice that made Maren feel like a terrible daughter. "I came." They stood there, mother and daughter, separated by years of careful distance and things left unsaid. Then Iris was there, camera already in hand, breaking the tension with her easy warmth. "Mrs. Cole, it's so good to see you. The house is beautiful. All this light through the trees." Eleanor smiled and Maren watched her mother relax in a way she never did around Maren anymore. Iris had that effect on people. She made them feel seen, feel safe. Inside the house smelled of dust and old memories. The furniture was covered in white sheets like ghosts of the life that used to exist here. Maren walked through rooms she had once known by heart, seeing them now with an architect's eye cataloging the structural bones beneath the emotional weight. The kitchen where her parents had their worst fights. The living room where her father had slept on the couch for the last 3 years of the marriage. The stairs where Maren had sat as a child listening to the sound of her mother crying behind a closed bedroom door. "I want you to tear it all down," Eleanor said softly, coming to stand beside her. "Not the bones, but everything else. All the wallpaper and paint and memories. Make it new. Make it somewhere a person could actually breathe." Maren looked at her mother, really looked, and saw the exhaustion etched into every line of her face. "Mom, are you okay?" Eleanor's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I will be, once this is done. Once I can finally let go of all this." She gestured at the house, but Maren knew she meant more than just the walls. Iris moved through the space with her camera capturing angles and light, giving them the illusion of privacy. She was good at that, knowing when to be present and when to disappear. "I'll need a few weeks to draw up plans," Maren said. "Are you sure you want to do this? It's going to be invasive, messy." "I'm sure." Eleanor reached out, touched Maren's cheek with a tenderness that felt almost foreign. "Sometimes we have to tear things down to build them back better. You taught me that." Something in her mother's voice made Maren's throat tighten. But before she could ask what she meant, Eleanor was already moving away, talking about contractors and timelines, her voice taking on that brisk, practical tone that meant the moment of vulnerability had passed. That night, Maren and Iris stayed late at the house, taking measurements and notes. The power was still on, but they used flashlights anyway, the beams of light cutting through the darkness like searching fingers. "This place feels haunted," Iris said, not unkindly. She was photographing the staircase the way the shadows pooled in the corners. "It is," Maren replied, "by everything that happened here." "Is that why you've been avoiding it?" Maren didn't answer. She was standing in what used to be her parents' bedroom, looking at the marks on the wall where picture frames had once hung. Family photos that had been taken down and packed away, leaving only the ghosts of their outlines. Iris came to stand beside her. In the beam of her flashlight, dust motes danced like snow. "My mom's sick," Maren said suddenly. "I can tell. She's trying to hide it, but I know. The way she moves, the way she looked at me today, like she was memorizing my face." Iris's hand found hers in the darkness. "Have you asked her? I'm afraid of what she'll say." They stood there, hands clasped in the room where Maren's parents had slept apart for years before finally admitting defeat. The house creaked around them, settling into its bones. "I'll be here," Iris said quietly. "Whatever happens, whatever you need, I'm here." And Maren believed her. Iris had never lied to her, never left. Even when Maren had pushed her away after the divorce, convinced she was too broken to be anyone's friend, Iris had stayed. Patient, constant. Like the rain in Portland that never really stopped, just paused to catch its breath. They continued their survey of the house, moving from room to room, Maren taking notes while Iris captured everything through her lens. In the attic, they found boxes of old belongings that Eleanor had never gotten around to sorting through. Maren's childhood drawings, her father's old business cards, yearbooks and photo albums, and the accumulated debris of a family that no longer existed. And then wedged between two boxes in the corner, Maren found it. A leather journal, dark green with gold edging, the kind of thing someone would buy intending to fill it with important thoughts, but often left blank. Except this one wasn't blank. The pages were full of Eleanor's careful handwriting, dated from before Maren was born. "What is it?" Iris asked, moving closer with her flashlight. Maren opened to a random page, her mother's words illuminated in the beam. "June 12th, 1988. I saw Catherine again today at the bookstore. She was looking at poetry collections, her hair catching the afternoon light through the window, and for a moment I forgot how to breathe. She looked up and saw me watching, smiled that secret smile that makes my heart race. We had coffee after, talked about everything and nothing. I wanted to reach across the table and take her hand, but I didn't. I never do. Because good girls don't want these things. Good girls marry men and have children and build the lives they're supposed to want. But when she laughs, I forget what I'm supposed to want. I just want her. Maren's hands trembled. She flipped through more pages, each one a confession, a longing, a love that her mother had kept secret for over 30 years. Maren, Iris's voice seemed to come from very far away. But Maren was reading, unable to stop watching her mother's whole life recontextualize itself in ink and desperation. July 4th, 1988. I'm going to marry Robert. He asked last night and I said yes. He's a good man, safe, acceptable, everything my parents want for me. Catherine doesn't know yet. I don't know how to tell her. Don't know how to explain that I'm choosing safety over happiness. Choosing the life I'm supposed to have over the life I actually want. She'll understand, she has to, because she's getting married too to a man from her church. We're both going to be fine. We're both going to have the normal lives we're supposed to have. I'm crying as I write this. The fireworks are going off outside, and I'm crying in my room like a child mourning something I never actually had. The journal went on, years of it. Eleanor's secret grief poured out onto pages that no one was ever meant to read. The marriage to Maren's father, the birth of Maren herself. The slow death of Eleanor's spirit as she tried to be the person she thought she needed to be. And through it all, mentions of Catherine. Brief encounters over the years. A constant ache that never quite healed. The last entry was dated 6 months ago. I saw Catherine at the hospital today. She's a nurse there now. After all these years, she's still beautiful. We talked for a few minutes, and for those few minutes, I remembered what it felt like to be alive. To want something. To be wanted. She asked about my family. I told her about the divorce, about Maren. I didn't tell her that I'm sick, that the doctors have given me less than a year. What's the point? We made our choices 36 years ago. We chose safety. We chose fear. And now I'm dying, and all I can think about is the life I could have had if I'd been braver. I don't want this for my daughter. I don't want Maren to spend her life afraid of her own heart. But I don't know how to tell her that without admitting everything I've kept hidden, without showing her that her mother is a coward who sacrificed love for the appearance of normalcy. Maybe she'll understand someday. Maybe she'll be braver than I was. Maren closed the journal, her vision blurred with tears. She didn't realize she'd been crying. The attic spun around her, all the air sucked out of the space. Maren, Iris was kneeling beside her now, one hand on her shoulder. Talk to me. What did it say? But Maren couldn't speak, couldn't process what she'd just learned about her mother, about the woman who had raised her with such careful distance, such controlled emotion. All of it made sense now. The fights with her father, the sadness that had haunted Eleanor's eyes for as long as Maren could remember, the way her mother had never seemed fully present in her own life. She had been in love with someone else the whole time, with a woman named Catherine, and she had spent her entire life pretending otherwise. My mother, Maren finally managed, her voice breaking. She was in love with a woman before she married my father, maybe the whole time she was married to him. And she never told anyone. She just buried it, buried herself. Iris's arms came around her, pulling her close. Maren let herself be held, let herself break down in a way she hadn't since the divorce, maybe in a way she had never allowed herself before. And now she's dead. Maren sobbed against Iris's shoulder. She's done, and she's spent her whole life living a lie, and she wants me to redesign this house like somehow that will fix everything. Like tearing down walls can undo 36 years of pretending to be someone she wasn't. Maybe it's not about fixing, Iris said softly, stroking Maren's hair. Maybe it's about letting go, about finally being honest before it's too late. And they sat there in the attic, surrounded by boxes of carefully curated memories, while the rain started again outside. Maren could hear it on the roof, steady and relentless, washing over everything. When she finally pulled back, Iris's face was close to hers, illuminated in the dim flashlight glow. There were tears on Iris's cheeks too, Maren realized. Iris, who felt everything so deeply, who never hid from emotion, the way Maren did. I'm sorry, Maren whispered. Don't be. You don't have to apologize for feeling things. I don't know how to feel about any of this. I don't even know who my mother really is. Maybe that's what this project is really about. Maybe she's giving you a chance to know her before it's too late. Maren nodded, wiping at her eyes. She picked up the journal again, holding it carefully like the fragile confession it was. I need to talk to her, really talk to her. Do you want me to come with you? Maren looked at Iris, at this woman who had been by her side for a decade, who had never asked for anything in return, who showed up with Thai food and stayed through the hard moments and made everything feel less impossible. Yes, she said, I always want you with me. Something flickered in Iris's eyes, something Maren couldn't quite name in the darkness. But then Iris was standing, offering her hand, pulling Maren to her feet. Then let's go. Tomorrow, we'll go together. They left the attic, the journal tucked carefully in Maren's bag. As they descended the stairs, Maren noticed things she hadn't before. The way Iris's hand lingered in hers a moment too long. The way Iris looked at her when she thought Maren wasn't watching. The careful distance Iris sometimes kept, like she was afraid of getting too close. How had she never noticed before? Or had she noticed and chosen not to see the way her mother had chosen not to see the truth about herself for 36 years? The thought unsettled her, made her look at Iris differently as they locked up the house and walked back to Maren's car through the rain. Thank you, Maren said as they drove back through the dark, wet streets of Portland. For being here, for everything. Always, Iris replied, her eyes on the road ahead. And Maren wondered what exactly Iris meant by always. Wondered what else she had been blind to in her determination to keep her life small and controlled and safe. Wondered what her mother had felt all those years ago, looking at Catherine and knowing she could never have what she truly wanted. The rain continued to fall. Portland disappeared and reappeared in the sweep of the windshield wipers. And Maren felt something shift inside her, like tectonic plates grinding against each other, threatening to reshape the entire landscape of her carefully constructed life. The next morning, Maren woke to gray light filtering through her curtains and the sound of her phone buzzing insistently on her nightstand. 3 missed calls from her mother. She lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, remembering the journal. Remembering everything she'd learned about the woman who had raised her, about the secret grief Eleanor had carried for decades. When she finally called back, her mother answered on the first ring. Maren, I was hoping you'd call. Mom, I need to see you today. There's something we need to talk about. A pause, then, you found it, didn't you, the journal? Maren's breath caught. You knew it was there. I left it there, for you to find. Eleanor's voice was quiet, resigned. I couldn't tell you, but I thought maybe if you read it, you'd understand why I need to sell the house. Why I need you to remake it first. Mom, come over, both of you. I know Iris is there with you. She always is. There was something in her mother's voice, a knowing quality that made Maren's skin prickle. We should all have this conversation together. The call ended and Maren sat there, phone in hand, trying to process what had just happened. Her mother had left the journal intentionally, had orchestrated this entire thing knowing Maren would find it, would read, it would have to confront the truth about who Eleanor Cole really was. A text came through from Iris, who must have sensed something through their decade of friendship, their unspoken connection. Coffee is brewing. I'm here when you're ready. Maren got up, pulled on jeans and a sweater, and opened her door to find Iris already in the kitchen, 2 mugs waiting, looking like she'd been there all along. Like she'd never really left. She knew, Maren said, about the journal. She left it for me to find. Iris nodded slowly, unsurprised. Of course she did. Mothers always know what their daughters need, even when we don't. They drove to Willow Creek Road in silence, the morning heavy with rain that turned the world into watercolor washes of gray and gold. When they arrived, and Eleanor was waiting on the porch again, but this time she looked different. Lighter somehow, like putting her secret into the world had lifted a weight she'd been carrying for too long. She led them inside, made tea with careful ceremony, and then sat across from them at the kitchen table where so many family dinners had dissolved into arguments. I have cancer, Eleanor said without preamble. Pancreatic, stage 4. They've given me 6 to 8 months, maybe less. Maren felt the words hit her like a physical blow. Iris's hand found hers under the table, squeezing tight. How long have you known? Maren managed. 4 months. I didn't want to tell you until I was ready, until I had a plan. A plan? To finally live honestly for whatever time I have left. Eleanor looked down at her tea. I spent my entire life pretending to be someone I wasn't. Married a man I didn't love because it was expected. raised a daughter in a house full of resentment and unspoken truths. And now I'm dying, and all I can think about is Catherine. About the life I could have had and if I'd been brave enough to choose it. Mom, no, let me finish. Eleanor's eyes met Maren's fierce with a determination she'd never shown before. I see you doing the same thing, Maren. Keeping yourself small, keeping yourself safe. Afraid to want anything too much because you saw how badly my marriage failed. You think if you don't need anyone, can't hurt you. Maren wanted to argue, but the words caught in her throat, because her mother was right. I don't want that for you, Eleanor continued. I don't want you to wake up one day at the end of your life and realize you spent it all afraid. Afraid of being hurt, afraid of being seen, afraid of loving the wrong person or the right person in the wrong way. The rain started again outside, a soft percussion against the windows. That's why I want you to redesign the house, to tear down all these walls that kept me trapped for so long. And that's why I'm going to find Catherine and tell her the truth, while I still can. You're going to see her, Maren asked, something loosening in her chest. Yes, tomorrow. She works at Providence St. Vincent. I have an appointment for some more tests, and I've made sure she'll be my nurse. Eleanor smiled, and it was the first real smile Maren had seen on her mother's face in years. I'm going to tell her everything. That I loved her, that I never stopped loving her, that I'm sorry for all the years we lost because I was too afraid to be honest. Iris spoke for the first time, her voice gentle. What if she doesn't feel the same way anymore? Then at least I'll have said it. At least I'll die knowing I was brave at the end, even if I was a coward for most of my life. They sat in silence for a moment, the three of them in this kitchen that had seen so much pain and was now perhaps witnessing the beginning of something like healing. I'm scared, Maren whispered. I know, honey. So am I. Eleanor reached across the table, took both of Maren's hands in hers. But being scared doesn't mean we give up. It means we do it anyway. We love anyway. We live anyway. Maren looked at her mother, really looked at her, and saw past the careful exterior to the woman beneath. The woman who had loved and lost and was now at the end choosing to be honest about who she really was. I'll redesign the house, Maren said. We'll make it beautiful. A place you can finally breathe. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. That night back in her apartment, Maren couldn't sleep. She stood at her window, watching the rain-soaked city, thinking about her mother and Catherine, about love that had been denied for 36 years. Thinking about Iris asleep in the guest room down the hall. Iris, who had been there through everything, who showed up without being asked and stayed without being begged, who looked at Maren with something in her eyes that Maren had always told herself she was imagining. What if she hadn't been imagining it? What if, like her mother, she had been choosing not to see, because seeing would mean having to make a choice, would mean having to be brave? The rain fell harder, and Maren stood at the window until dawn, turning these thoughts over and over, feeling the architecture of her carefully constructed life begin to crack and shift, making room for something new. Something that terrified her. Something that felt for the first time in years like the possibility of being truly alive. Over the next 2 weeks, Maren threw herself into the redesign. She spent hours at the house on Willow Creek Road measuring and sketching, tearing down wallpaper, and pulling up old carpets, revealing the bones of the structure underneath. Iris was there every day, documenting everything with her camera. But more than that, she was present in a way that made the work feel less like demolition and more like excavation. Like they were uncovering something valuable that had been buried for too long. They fell into a rhythm. Maren would work in silence, lost in the architecture of the project, while Iris moved around her with her camera capturing angles and light. Sometimes they would talk about the design, about Eleanor's upcoming appointment with Catherine, about nothing in particular. Other times they would work in comfortable silence, the kind of quiet that only existed between people who truly knew each other. Maren noticed things she had never let herself notice before. The way Iris bit her lower lip when she was concentrating on a shot. The way she would reach out to touch Maren's shoulder when passing by, a brief connection that felt like more than simple affection. The way she looked at Maren sometimes when she thought Maren was absorbed in her work, with an expression that made Maren's heart race in a way she didn't want to examine too closely. One afternoon, they were working in what had been Maren's childhood bedroom. The walls were half stripped, revealing layers of different wallpapers from different eras of her life. butterflies from when she was 6, stripes from her teenage years. The plain beige her parents had painted over it all when she'd moved out for college. It's like archaeology, Iris said, photographing the layers. All these versions of you preserved in paste and paper. All these versions of me I tried to leave behind, Maren corrected. You can't leave yourself behind. You can only add to who you are. Maren looked up from the wallpaper she was peeling away to find Iris watching her with that expression again. The one that made Maren feel seen in a way that was both comforting and terrifying. Do you ever wish you could Maren asked. To before when things were simpler, Iris considered this lowering her camera. No, simpler usually means we were lying to ourselves about something. I'd rather face complicated truths than comfortable lies. The words hung in the air between them, weighted with meaning that Maren wasn't ready to unpack. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell her. Maren showed the message to Iris, who read it and smiled. She's really doing it. What if Catherine doesn't feel the same way? What if Mom just ends up hurt? Then at least she tried. At least she was honest about what she wanted. Iris moved closer, close enough that Maren could smell the faint scent of her shampoo, something citrus and clean. Isn't that better than spending your whole life wondering what if? Is it? Yes. Iris said it with such certainty, such conviction, that Maren wanted to believe her. They returned to work, but something had shifted. The air felt charged, heavy with things unsaid. Maren was hyper-aware of Iris's presence, of every movement, every glance. And she realized with a clarity that made her dizzy that this awareness had always been there. She had just been very, very good at ignoring it, at ignoring the way her heart lifted every time Iris walked into a room. The way she sought Iris's opinion on everything as if Iris's approval mattered more than anyone else's. The way in the 2 years since her divorce, Iris was the only person who had made her feel less alone. The only person who had made her feel period. It was late afternoon when they finally stopped working, both of them covered in dust and paint. They sat on the porch steps, sharing a bottle of water and watching the light fade through the maple trees. Thank you, Maren said quietly, for doing this with me. I couldn't have faced this house alone. You're never alone, Iris replied. You know that, right? You never have to do anything alone. Their shoulders were touching, just barely, but Maren felt it like a brand burning through her awareness. Iris, don't. Iris stood abruptly, gathering her camera equipment. It's getting late. We should go. Maren watched her friend move away, saw the tension in her shoulders, and understood. Iris was pulling back, creating distance, protecting herself from something. From Maren, maybe. From the possibility of being hurt. And Maren understood that too, because she'd been doing the same thing for 2 years. For longer, if she was honest. She'd been so busy protecting herself that she'd never stopped to consider who else she might be hurting in the process. They drove back to the city in silence, the comfortable ease between them strained for the first time Maren could remember. When they reached Maren's apartment, Iris didn't come up like she usually did. She just waved, said she'd see Maren tomorrow at the hospital to support Eleanor, and drove away into the rainy evening. Maren climbed the stairs to her apartment, let herself in, and stood in the middle of her carefully controlled space, feeling like everything was spinning out of her grasp. Her phone rang. Her mother. Tomorrow, Eleanor said without greeting. Tomorrow I'm going to be brave. For the first time in my life, I'm going to choose what I want instead of what's safe. I know, Mom. I'm proud of you. Learn from me, Maren. Don't wait until you're dying to start living. The call ended and Maren stood there with her phone in her hand, her mother's words echoing in the empty apartment. Don't wait until you're dying to start living. Through the window, Portland glittered with rain and lights. Somewhere out there, Iris was driving home alone. And Maren stood here safe in her controlled space, wondering when exactly she had decided that safety mattered more than joy. When she had become her mother, choosing fear over love. The rain fell. The city breathed. And Maren felt the first real crack in the walls she'd built around her heart, felt them beginning to crumble under the weight of everything she'd been refusing to acknowledge. Tomorrow her mother would be brave. And Maren would have to decide if she could be brave too. Providence St. Vincent Medical Center smelled like antiseptic and fear disguised as hope. Maren sat in the waiting area with Iris watching the clock tick toward 2 p.m. Toward the moment her mother would finally tell the truth after 36 years of silence. Iris hadn't said much since they'd arrived. She sat with her camera in her lap, fingers tracing the edges, absently lost in thoughts she wasn't sharing. The distance from last night lingered between them like fog obscuring something Maren was almost ready to see. Almost. She's brave, Iris said finally. Your mother, to do this. Or foolish. Sometimes those are the same thing. Before Maren could respond, Eleanor appeared at the end of the hallway, and she wasn't alone. The woman beside her was tall, with silver hair, cut short, and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She wore scrubs decorated with small sunflowers, and she was holding Eleanor's hand. Catherine. Even from a distance, Maren could see the way they looked at each other. Like 36 years had dissolved in an instant. Like all the time lost didn't matter as much as the time they might have now. Eleanor saw Maren and Iris waiting and smiled. Actually smiled. The kind of smile Maren had never seen on her mother's face before, unguarded, radiant, alive. They approached slowly, Eleanor leaning slightly on Catherine, whether from weakness or need, Maren couldn't tell. Maren, Iris. Eleanor's voice was steady, stronger than it had been in months. This is Catherine Hayes. Catherine, this is my daughter Maren and her best friend Iris. Catherine extended her hand first to Maren, then to Iris. Her grip was firm, warm. Eleanor has told me so much about you both. It's wonderful to finally meet you. There was no awkwardness in her voice, no shame or regret, just peace. The peace of someone who had finally stopped pretending. What happened? Maren asked, though she could already see it written in her mother's face. I told her everything, Eleanor said. That I loved her then, that I love her still. That I wasted 36 years being afraid, and I won't waste whatever time I have left. Catherine's hand tightened on Eleanor's. And I told her that I felt the same way. Then, and now, that I married Michael because it was what I was supposed to do, but I divorced him 10 years ago because I couldn't spend another day living a lie. We've been given a second chance, Eleanor continued, and her eyes were bright with tears. However long I have, we're going to spend it honestly, together, the way we should have from the beginning. Maren felt something crack open in her chest. Relief and grief and all tangled together because her mother had finally found happiness, but it had come at the end instead of the beginning, because there was so little time left. I'm happy for you, Maren managed and meant it. Both of you. Eleanor pulled her close, hugged her tighter than she had in years. Learn from me, baby, she whispered. Don't wait. Don't waste time being afraid. Life is too short and too precious. When they pulled apart, Maren saw Iris watching them, her expression unreadable. Something flickered across her face, longing maybe, or grief. Then she looked away, focusing on her camera, and the moment was gone. Catherine had to return to work, but not before kissing Eleanor softly on the cheek, a public declaration that made several passing nurses turn and stare. Eleanor didn't care. She just watched Catherine walk away with a look that made Maren's throat tight. That was what love looked like, when you finally stopped being afraid of it. They spent the afternoon at the house on Willow Creek Road, but the work felt different now, lighter, as if Eleanor's confession had lifted something heavy from the walls themselves. Eleanor moved through the rooms with new energy, pointing out what she wanted changed, what memories she wanted preserved, and which ones she wanted demolished. She talked about Catherine, about their plans to travel, whatever trips my body will let me take, and about moving into a smaller place together, something bright and new with no ghosts. I'm selling this house as soon as the renovation is done, Eleanor said. Someone else can make happy memories here. God knows we never did. Maren watched her mother transform before her eyes. This was who Eleanor could have been all along if she'd chosen differently. If she'd been brave. Iris documented everything with her camera, but she was quieter than usual. She stayed on the periphery as if she didn't quite belong in this moment of family reckoning. When Eleanor went to lie down exhausted from the emotion of the day, Maren found Iris outside on the porch, camera set aside, just staring at the overgrown garden. You okay? Maren asked. I'm fine, but she didn't sound fine. She sounded distant, guarded in a way Iris never was with her, and Iris, talk to me. Again, for a long moment, Iris said nothing. Then, do you know why I became a photographer? The question caught Maren off guard. Because you're talented. Because I wanted to capture things before they disappeared, before people left or changed or stopped being who I needed them to be. Iris finally turned to look at her. My first girlfriend was in high school, Sarah Chen. We were together for 6 months before her parents found out. They sent her to conversion therapy. I never saw her again. Maren's breath caught. Iris, I didn't know. I never told you. I never told anyone at college. I was so afraid that if I was honest about who I was, I'd lose everything. Lose everyone. Iris's laugh was bitter. So I took pictures instead, captured moments I couldn't keep in real life. Is that why you never dated anyone seriously all these years? No. Iris's eyes met hers, and the intensity there made Maren's heart race. I never dated anyone seriously because I was already in love with someone who didn't see me that way. Who couldn't see me that way? The words hung in the air between them. Maren knew, had known on some level for a while now, but hearing it said out loud made it real in a way she wasn't prepared for. Iris, I fell in love with you the first day of that photography class, sophomore year. Iris continued, the words spilling out like she'd been holding them in for too long. You were trying to photograph this architectural model you'd built, and you were getting so frustrated because the light wasn't right. And I came over and showed you how to use the reflectors, and you smiled at me like I'd just given you the universe. Maren remembered that day, remembered thinking Iris was the kindest person she'd ever met. I loved you through your relationship with David, through your engagement, your wedding. I stood beside you as your best friend and died a little bit every time you looked at him the way I wished you'd look at me. Iris's voice broke. And then you got divorced, and I thought maybe now, maybe finally, but you just shut down, built walls so high I couldn't climb them. I didn't know, Maren whispered. I never knew. I know you didn't, because you never looked at me that way. Because I was safe. I was the friend who would always be there, who would never ask for more than you could give. Iris wiped at her eyes. But I can't do this anymore, Maren. I can't keep loving you from a distance and pretending it doesn't hurt. What are you saying? I'm saying I need space. After this project is done, after your mom, after everything, I need to step back. For my own sanity. For my own heart. The words hit Maren like a physical blow. The thought of Iris not being in her life, not being the constant she had relied on for 10 years, it was unbearable. Please don't, Maren heard herself say, please don't leave me. Then give me a reason to stay. Iris's voice was raw, desperate. Tell me there's a chance. Tell me I'm not imagining the way you look at me sometimes. Tell me something other than that you need me to keep being your safe person who never asked for anything. Maren opened her mouth, closed it. Because what could she say? That yes, maybe she had felt something shift lately. That she'd noticed Iris in ways she'd never let herself notice before. That the thought of Iris leaving terrified her more than anything. But saying those things would mean admitting something she wasn't ready to admit. Would mean facing feelings she'd spent her whole life learning to suppress. Would mean being brave. And Maren wasn't brave. Not like her mother had finally become. Not like Iris was being right now. The silence stretched too long. Maren watched hope fade from Iris's eyes, replaced by something like resignation. That's what I thought, Iris said softly. She picked up her camera, held it like a shield. I'll finish the project. I'll be here for you and your mom. But after that, I think we need some distance. She walked to her car, and Maren stood frozen on the porch, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to do anything but watch the only person who had ever really known her walk away. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of demolition and reconstruction, both literal and metaphorical. Maren threw herself into the house renovation with manic energy, working 16-hour days stripping walls and redesigning spaces until her hands bled and her body ached. Anything to avoid thinking about Iris, about the confession Iris had made, about her own cowardice. Iris still came to document the project, but she was different now. Professional, distant. She arrived, took her photos, and left without the comfortable lingering that had defined their friendship. No more shared meals. No more easy conversations. Just polite exchanges and careful distance. It was agony. Maren missed her. Missed the version of them that had existed before everything got complicated. Missed the ease and the comfort and the feeling that someone understood her completely. But more than that, and this was the part that terrified her, she missed Iris specifically. Missed the way she laughed, the way she looked at the world through her camera, like everything was worth capturing. The way she made Maren feel less alone. The way she made Maren feel, period. Eleanor noticed, of course. She had grown weaker over the weeks, the cancer advancing faster than the doctors had predicted. But her mind was sharp, and she saw everything. "You're being an idiot," she said bluntly one afternoon when it was just the two of them in the house. "Excuse me," with Iris. "You're pushing her away because you're scared, and you're going to lose the best thing in your life because you're too afraid to admit you want it." Maren set down her paintbrush. "Mom, it's not that simple." "It is that simple. Either you love her or you don't." "I don't know if I love her. I don't know if I'm capable of loving anyone that way." "That's just fear talking. You know exactly how you feel about her. You've just been so busy protecting yourself that you won't acknowledge it." Maren sank onto the floor, exhausted. "What if I try and it doesn't work? What if I ruin everything? What if you don't try and spend the rest of your life wondering what if?" Eleanor sat beside her, moving slowly. "Maren, I wasted 36 years. I watched Catherine marry someone else. I married your father and made both of us miserable. I built this whole false life because I was too afraid to be honest about what I wanted. But you're happy now." "Yes, for the 6 months I have left." 6 months out of a lifetime, Maren. That's what fear cost me." Eleanor took her daughter's hand. "Don't let it cost you the same." "I'm not like you," Maren said. "I'm not. I've always been attracted to men. I don't understand what I'm feeling. Love doesn't fit into neat categories. It doesn't care about the rules we make or the boxes we try to fit it into. Sometimes we fall in love with a person, not a gender. Sometimes our hearts know what we need before our heads figure it out." Maren thought about Iris, about how safe she felt in her presence, how right, how the past 10 years Iris had been the one constant thing in a life that kept shifting and changing, how losing her felt like losing a piece of herself. "What if she doesn't feel the same way anymore?" Maren asked quietly. "What if I've pushed her away too many times? There's only one way to find out." But Maren didn't go to Iris because she was a coward, because even knowing what she stood to lose, she couldn't make herself take that leap. Instead, she did something worse. She went on a date with Marcus Reynolds, a contractor she'd met through the renovation project. He was nice, safe, exactly the kind of man she was supposed to want. Tall, handsome, successful. He made her laugh, held doors, paid for dinner, and she felt absolutely nothing. They went to a restaurant downtown, one of those trendy places with exposed brick and craft cocktails. Marcus talked about his business, his house, his divorce 3 years ago. He was genuine and kind, and Maren hated herself for using him as proof of something she already knew wasn't true. "You're distracted," Marcus said halfway through the meal. "Is everything okay?" "I'm sorry, it's my mom. She's not doing well." It wasn't entirely a lie. "I understand. My dad passed from cancer 2 years ago. It's brutal watching someone you love fade." His hand covered hers on the table. "If you need someone to talk to, I'm here." And he meant it. Marcus was a good man, the kind of man she should have been able to love. But all she could think about was Iris. How Iris would have known she was lying about being distracted because of her mother. How Iris would have called her out gently, made her laugh, made her feel less alone. How Iris would have held her hand and it would have felt like coming home. "Marcus," she said carefully, "I need to be honest with you. I'm not ready for this, for dating, for any of it, and it wouldn't be fair to pretend otherwise." To his credit, he didn't look hurt, just understanding. "There's someone else." It wasn't a question. Yes, there's someone else, and I've been an idiot about it." Marcus smiled. "Then you should probably stop being an idiot and tell them how you feel." They parted as friends, Marcus refusing to let her feel guilty about it. And Maren drove home through the rain, thinking about what her mother had said, about what Marcus had said, about what she already knew but was too afraid to admit. She was in love with Iris, had been for a while maybe, or maybe she'd always been, and it had just taken her mother's confession to open her eyes to it, to make her brave enough to see what had been right in front of her all along. She pulled out her phone to text Iris to ask if they could talk. But before she could type anything, she saw she had 3 missed calls from Catherine, her mother. Maren called back immediately, her heart in her throat. "Maren," Catherine's voice was calm but urgent. You need to come to the hospital. Now, your mother's taken a turn. Maren ran through the hospital hallways not caring who she knocked into or what rules she broke. Room 412, that's where Catherine had said Eleanor was. Room 412. She burst through this door to find her mother in the bed, looking smaller than she'd ever been. Catherine sat on one side holding her hand, and on the other side camera set aside was Iris. Iris, who had come even though Maren had pushed her away, who was here because Eleanor needed her, because that's who Iris was. Mom, Maren breathed, rushing to the bed. Eleanor's eyes opened. She looked tired, so tired, but she smiled when she saw her daughter. There you are. I was worried you wouldn't make it in time. In time for what, Mom? What's happening? I'm dying, sweetheart, faster than anyone thought. The doctors say I have days, maybe hours. The words didn't make sense. Days, hours. But the renovation wasn't finished. They hadn't had enough time. She hadn't learned enough, hadn't said enough. Breathe, Eleanor said gently. I know this is fast. It's fast for me too. But I'm ready. I've made my peace. Catherine pressed a kiss to Eleanor's temple, and the tenderness of it broke something in Maren's chest. I got my second chance, Eleanor continued. These last few weeks with Catherine have been the happiest of my life. I got to be honest. I got to be loved for who I really am. That's all any of us really wants. I'm not ready, Maren whispered. I'm not ready to lose you. Yes, you are. You're strong, Maren. Stronger than you think. Stronger than I ever was. Eleanor's gaze shifted to Iris, then back to Maren. Don't make my mistakes. Don't wait until you're dying to start living. Don't waste your life being afraid of love because it might hurt. Of course it might hurt. Everything worthwhile carries risk. Mom, promise me. Eleanor's grip on her hand tightened with surprising strength. Promise me you'll be brave, that you'll let yourself want things. Let yourself love. Maren looked at Iris, who was crying silently, and felt her own tears fall. I promise. Good. Eleanor relaxed back into the pillows. Catherine, sweetheart, could you give us a moment? You too, Iris. Catherine kissed Eleanor once more, squeezed Maren's shoulder as she passed. Iris hesitated, her eyes meeting Maren's across the bed. So much passed between them in that look. Then she was gone too, and it was just Maren and her mother. I know you love her, Eleanor said quietly. I've known for a while, maybe longer than you've known yourself. I don't know what I feel. Yes, you do. You're just too scared to admit it. But I'm telling you right now, as your mother, as someone who wasted most of her life on fear, don't do what I did. Don't choose safety over happiness. Don't let Iris walk away because you're too afraid to be vulnerable. What if it changes everything? What if I lose her entirely? What if you don't? Eleanor smiled weakly. What if it's the best thing that ever happened to you? What if love is worth the risk? Maren couldn't answer. Couldn't see past the fear that had been her constant companion for so long. I need to sleep now, Eleanor murmured. But I need you to know I'm proud of you. Proud of the woman you've become, even if you're still learning to be brave. It's okay to be scared, baby. Just don't let it stop you. Maren sat with her mother as she drifted into sleep, Catherine returning to take her place on the other side of the bed. They kept vigil together, strangers united by love, for the same woman, watching her breathe in and out, each breath a gift. Iris was in the waiting room. Maren found her there hours later when the nurses had gently suggested she take a break. She was hunched in a chair, camera in her lap, looking lost. Hey, Ter, Maren said softly. Iris looked up, her eyes red-rimmed. How is she sleeping? Catherine's with her. That's good. She shouldn't be alone. They sat in silence for a moment, the hospital humming around them. Thank you for coming, Maren finally said. You didn't have to. Of course I did. I love your mom. And I love... Iris stopped herself. I care about both of you. I needed to be here. I went on a date, Maren blurted out, with Marcus, the contractor. Iris went very still. Okay. It was a disaster. Not because of him. He's a good man, but because all I could think about was you, about how wrong it felt to be there with him when I wanted to be with you. Maren, I'm in love with you. The words came out in a rush, desperate and messy and completely honest. I don't know when it started. Maybe it was always there and I was just too scared to see it. Maybe it's new. I don't know, but I know that losing you would destroy me, that you make me feel alive in a way no one else ever has, that I've been lying to myself because I was too afraid to want this, to want you. Iris was crying now, tears streaming down her face. Do you have any idea how long I've waited to hear you say that? 10 years, I know. I'm sorry I made you wait so long. I'm sorry I was too blind and too scared to see what was right in front of me. What changed? My mom, watching her finally get to be with Catherine, seeing what it looks like when someone stops being afraid and just loves, and realizing that I don't want to wake up one day at the end of my life and regret not taking this chance, not telling you how I feel. Iris stood across the space between them. She cupped Maren's face in her hands, searching her eyes for something. Are you sure? Because I can't do this halfway, Maren. I can't be your experiment, or your crisis, or your maybe. If we do this, I need you to be sure. I'm terrified, Maren admitted. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never felt this way about a woman before. I don't know how any of this works. But I know I love you, and I know that's enough to start with. The rest we can figure out together. Iris kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative, like she was still afraid Maren might pull away. But then Maren kissed her back, and it was like coming home. Like every moment of the last 10 years had been leading to this. Her hands came up to Iris's waist, pulling her closer, and Iris made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Iris was smiling through her tears. I've wanted to do that for so long, she whispered. I'm sorry you had to wait. It was worth it. You're worth it. They held each other in that hospital waiting room while the world moved around them. And for the first time in 2 years, maybe longer, Maren felt something shift inside her. The walls she'd built so carefully began to crumble, making room for something new. Something terrifying and beautiful and real. Making room for love. Eleanor passed away 2 days later peacefully, with Catherine holding one hand and Maren holding the other. Iris sat in the corner, camera set aside, bearing witness to the end of one love story that had been denied too long and the beginning of another that had taken too long to start. The funeral was small, just Maren, Catherine, Iris, and a handful of Eleanor's friends who had known her secret. Catherine spoke about their second chance, about love that persisted despite everything, about bravery at the end. Maren couldn't speak through her tears, but Iris held her hand through it all, solid and constant. After everyone left, they stood at the grave together, Maren, Catherine, and Iris, 3 women connected by Eleanor's legacy. She was happy at the end, Catherine said softly. That's what I hold on to, that she got to be her true self, even if only briefly. She wanted the same for Maren, Iris added. She told me so the last time we talked. She said she saw how Maren looked at me and hoped her daughter would be braver than she was. Maren looked at the 2 women beside her, at the evidence of what love could be when you stop being afraid of it. I'm going to try, to be brave. I don't know if I'll be good at it, but I'm going to try. Catherine hugged her to her. That's all any of us can do, try and love, and be honest about who we are. She left them alone at the grave. Maren and Iris stood in the falling rain, Portland weeping with them. What happens now? Maren asked. We finish the house. We honor your mother by completing what she started. Iris's fingers threaded through hers. And then we figure out what this is. Us. Together. Without rushing, without pressure. We take our time. What if people... Let them talk, let them stare, let them think whatever they want. Iris turned to face her fully. Your mother spent 36 years caring what people thought, and it nearly destroyed her. Don't make the same mistake. Maren nodded, feeling the truth of it settle in her bones. I'm scared. I know. So am I, but we're scared together, and that makes all the difference. They left the cemetery hand in hand, driving through the rain back to the house on Willow Creek Road. There was still work to do, walls to tear down, spaces to rebuild, a whole life to reconstruct from the ruins of fear. But for the first time, Maren felt ready for it, ready to be honest, ready to be brave, ready to love and be loved without apology. The rain fell, the city breathed, and somewhere Eleanor's spirit smiled, finally free. The house on Willow Creek Road was nearly finished. 3 months had passed since Eleanor's funeral. 3 months of Maren and Iris working side by side, rebuilding walls and learning to navigate this new territory between them. 3 months of stolen kisses in empty rooms and hands finding each other in the dark. 3 months of being terrified and exhilarated and more alive than Maren had felt in years. But they hadn't told anyone. Not yet. Maren stood in what had been her parents' bedroom, now transformed into something bright and airy, all the ghosts exorcised by new paint and large windows. Iris was photographing the space, capturing the before and after for her portfolio, her face serious with concentration. She was beautiful. Maren let herself think it now, without shame. Let herself notice the curve of Iris's neck, the way afternoon light caught in her dark hair, the graceful efficiency of her movements. Let herself want. "You're staring," Iris said without looking up from her camera. "I'm allowed to stare. You're my girlfriend." The words still felt strange in Maren's mouth. Girlfriend. At 34, it seemed too young a term for what Iris was to her. Too simple to encompass 10 years of friendship that had transformed into something deeper, more essential. Iris lowered her camera, smiled that smile that made Maren's heart race. "Say it again." "What? Girlfriend. You've only said it like 3 times since we got together." "I like hearing it." Maren crossed the room, pulled Iris close. "You're my girlfriend," she murmured against her lips. "My person. My love." They kissed slowly, unhurried, in the space where Eleanor had spent so many years unhappy. Maren hoped her mother could somehow see this, see that her daughter had finally chosen bravery over fear. A knock at the door made them spring apart. Old instinct. The fear still lived in Maren's bones even as she tried to unlearn it. Catherine stood in the doorway, a knowing smile on her face. "Relax, I'm not the morality police." She walked in, looking around at the renovated room. Eleanor would have loved this, all this light. "We're almost done," Maren said. "Another 2 weeks, maybe 3. Then we can list it." "Good." Catherine moved to the window, looked out at the garden. "I have something for you, from Eleanor. She made me promise to give it to you after the renovation was complete, after you'd had time to grieve and adjust." She handed Maren an envelope. Eleanor's handwriting on the front. "For Maren, to be opened when she's ready." Maren's hand shook as she opened it. Inside was a letter and a photograph. The photo showed Eleanor and Catherine in their 20s, sitting close together on a beach somewhere, laughing at something off camera. They looked impossibly young, impossibly happy. The letter was dated 2 weeks before Eleanor died. "My dearest Maren, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And if Catherine gave this to you now, it means you've finished the house. You've done what I couldn't, torn down the old structures and built something new. I'm so proud of you. By now you know my secret. You know that I love Catherine, that I spent most of my life pretending otherwise. I hope my story has taught you something. I hope it's shown you that fear is the only thing that can truly destroy us. Not love, not honesty, just fear. I see the way you look at Iris. I've seen it for years, though I don't think you realized it yourself until recently. She loves you, Maren. She has for a very long time. And I believe you love her too, even if it scares you, even if it's not the love you thought you'd have. Here's what I learned at the end of my life. Love doesn't care about our plans. It doesn't fit into the boxes we create for it. It simply is. And we can either honor it or spend our lives running from it. I ran. For 36 years I ran, and I lost so much time, so many moments, so many possibilities. Don't run, sweetheart. Don't waste your precious life being afraid of what people will think or say. Don't sacrifice your happiness for their comfort. The people who truly love you will understand. The ones who don't, well, their opinions don't matter anyway. Catherine and I had 3 beautiful weeks together before I died. 3 weeks of honesty and joy and love without apology. It wasn't enough time. It could never be enough. But it was real. It was true. And I wouldn't trade those 3 weeks for all the years I spent pretending. Be brave, my darling girl. Love Iris openly. Love her fiercely. Love her without shame or hesitation. Life is brutally short. Don't waste a single moment of it hiding who you are. I love you. I'm proud of you. And I'm so, so sorry I couldn't show you how to be brave until the very end. Live the life I couldn't. That's my final gift to you. My final wish. All my love. Mom, P.S. The house is yours to do with as you wish. Sell it, keep it, burn it down, I don't care. But the money from my estate, that's yours too. Use it to build the life you want. Use it to be free. Maren read the letter twice, tears streaming down her face. Iris's arms came around her from behind, holding her while she cried. Catherine stood by the window, giving them space, her own eyes wet. She knew, Maren said. She knew the whole time. Mothers always know, Catherine replied gently. Eleanor saw who you were before you did. She just wanted to give you space to figure it out yourself. Iris pressed a kiss to Maren's temple. She was an amazing woman. She was. Maren folded the letter carefully, tucked it back in the envelope, along with the photograph. And she's right. I've been hiding. We've been hiding. Keeping this a secret like there's something wrong with it. I didn't want to push you, Iris said. I know this is all new for you. I wanted to give you time. I know, and I love you for that. But I'm tired of hiding. My mother spent her whole life in the closet, and it killed her from the inside out. I don't want that for us. Iris turned her around, searched her face. What are you saying? I'm saying let's tell people. Let's be public about this. Not make a big announcement or anything dramatic, but just stop hiding. Stop pulling apart when someone comes in the room. Stop pretending we're just friends. Are you sure people are going to talk? Your clients, your colleagues, let them talk. I don't care anymore. And Maren realized she meant it. Her mother's death had shifted something fundamental in her. Life was too short to spend it worried about other people's opinions, too precious to waste on fear. Catherine smiled from across the room. Eleanor would be so happy to hear that. They started small, holding hands at the grocery store, sitting close at coffee shops, little public declarations that felt monumental to Maren, but were barely noticed by the world around them. Portland, it turned out, was more accepting than she'd feared. Most people didn't care. The ones who did care mostly kept their judgments to themselves. And the few who made comments or stared too long, well, Iris had a way of staring right back that shut them down quickly. You're like a guard dog, Maren teased one evening as they walked along the waterfront, fingers laced together. I'm protective. There's a difference. Iris bumped her shoulder. Besides, you're important to me. I'm not going to let anyone make you feel bad about who you are. Who I am is still figuring things out. That's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be honest about where you are right now. They walked in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the Willamette River, turning the water gold and pink. This was Maren's favorite time with Iris, these quiet moments, when they didn't need words, when just being together was enough. There's something I need to tell you, Iris said after a while. Something in her tone made Maren's stomach tighten. Okay. I got offered a job in New York, a 6-month contract photographing a major exhibition at the MoMA. It's a huge opportunity, the kind of thing that could really elevate my career. Maren stopped walking. When they want me to start in 2 weeks, I'd be gone for 6 months, maybe longer if they extend the contract. 6 months, half a year. Just when they were finally figuring this out, finally being brave together. What did you tell them? Maren asked, though she already knew, could see it in the careful way Iris was watching her. I haven't given them an answer yet. I wanted to talk to you first. But you want to go. Iris looked away out at the water. It's complicated. It's not complicated. It's an amazing opportunity. You should take it. Maren, I'm serious. This is your career, your dream. You can't turn it down because of me. Because of us, Iris corrected. And I can turn it down if I want to, if staying is more important. They sat on a bench overlooking the river. Maren felt something tearing inside her, the part that wanted Iris to stay, to choose her, and the part that knew Iris deserved this chance, deserved to chase her own dreams instead of always supporting everyone else's. Do you want to go? Maren asked quietly. Iris was silent for a long moment. Then yes, I want to go, but I also want to stay. I want both things, and I can't have both. You've been holding yourself back for 10 years, waiting for me, putting my needs first. Maren took Iris's hand. I don't want to be the reason you miss out on this. I don't want to be your Catherine, the love you sacrificed everything for. It's not the same thing. You'd be giving up something you want because You're afraid of losing me. That's exactly what my mother did, and I won't let you do it. I won't let you make the same mistake she did. Tears streamed down Iris's face. I'm scared that if I leave, you'll realize you don't actually want this. That what we have is new and fragile and 6 months apart will break it. Or maybe it will prove how strong we are. Maybe it will show that this is real, that it can survive distance and time. Maren pulled Iris close, held her tight. I love you. That's not going to change just because you're in New York for 6 months. If anything, I'll just miss you terribly and count down the day until you come back. You really think we can do this long distance? I think if we can survive 10 years of you loving me while I was too blind to see it, we can survive 6 months of being apart. Maren pulled back and wiped the tears from Iris's cheeks. Take the job, go to New York, be brilliant, and I'll be here when you get back. I don't want to leave you. I know, but you need to do this for yourself, for your career, for all the times you put your dreams on hold for someone else. They sat there as the sun disappeared and the city lights came on, holding each other while Maren's heart broke and mended and broke again. This was love too, she realized. Not just the wanting and the boy, but the letting go. The choosing what was best for the other person even when it hurt. The kind of love her mother never got to practice. Okay, Iris whispered. I'll go, but I'm coming back. 6 months, and then I'm coming back to you. I know you are. They kissed there on the bench, tasting each other's tears, making a promise without words. That they would try, that they would wait, that this was worth fighting for. The next 2 weeks passed too quickly and too slowly at the same time. They finished the house on Willow Creek Road, the last nail driven, the last wall painted. It looked nothing like the sad, haunted place it had been. Now it was full of light and possibility, ready for someone new to make happy memories there. Catherine came to see it one last time before they listed it. Eleanor would have loved this, she said, walking through the rooms. She would have loved knowing that something beautiful came out of all that pain. Thank you for taking care of her, Maren said, for loving her at the end. It was my privilege. Those 3 weeks were the happiest of my life. Catherine paused in the living room, looking at the space where Eleanor had spent so many evenings alone. Don't waste time, Maren. That's the only advice I have. Love Iris fiercely. Love her openly. Don't let fear make your decisions for you. I'm trying, but she's leaving for New York tomorrow. I know, she told me. Catherine smiled. But she's coming back. That's the difference between your mother's story and yours. Eleanor and I never got our second chance until it was almost too late. But you and Iris, you have time. You have a future. 6 months is nothing in the grand scheme of things. Maren wanted to believe that, wanted to believe 6 months would pass quickly, that they'd emerge on the other side stronger. But doubt crept in anyway, insidious and familiar. That night, their last night together, before Iris left, they didn't go out, didn't do anything special. They just stayed in Maren's apartment, cooking dinner together, talking about everything and nothing, pretending tomorrow wasn't coming. I'm going to miss this, Iris said, leaning against the counter while Maren chopped vegetables. Just being domestic with you, making dinner, existing in the same space. We'll do it again in 6 months. We'll have a whole lifetime of dinners together. Promise. Promise. After they ate, they sat on the couch, Iris curled into Maren's side, both of them quiet. Maren memorized everything about this moment, the weight of Iris against her, the smell of her shampoo, the sound of her breathing. She wanted to hold on to it, keep it close during the months of separation ahead. Thank you, Iris said softly. For what? For finally seeing me, for being brave enough to try this, for loving me back. She looked up at Maren. I know this is all new for you. I know you're still figuring out what it means to be with a woman. But you make me feel so loved, so seen, and I want you to know that. Maren kissed her slow and deep, trying to convey everything she felt and couldn't put into words. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, she said, "You're the bravest person I know. You loved me for 10 years without any guarantee I'd ever love you back. That's courage, real courage. I couldn't help it. You've always been worth it." They made love that night with a kind of desperate tenderness, both trying to memorize each other's bodies, store up enough closeness to last through the separation ahead. And afterward, they held each other in the dark, neither sleeping, both afraid to waste a single moment. What if you meet someone in New York? Maren whispered. I won't. But what if you do? What if there's someone who's more experienced, who knows what they're doing, who isn't still figuring everything out? Maren, Iris propped herself up on one elbow, looked down at her seriously. I've been in love with you for 10 years. Years. I'm not going to suddenly stop because we're on different coasts for 6 months. I'm not going to meet someone else. I don't want anyone else. I just want you. I want you too. So much it scares me. Good. Be scared. Be terrified. But don't let it make you doubt this. Don't let it make you doubt us. Maren pulled her close again, held her like she could keep her there through sheer force of will. But morning came anyway, inevitable and unwelcome. They drove to the airport in Iris's car, Maren's hand on Iris's thigh the whole way, both of them silent. What was there to say that hadn't been said? They were doing this. Iris was leaving, and Maren would wait. At the departures curb, they got out of the car. Iris pulled two large suitcases from the trunk, her camera bag over her shoulder. She looked small, suddenly vulnerable in a way Maren rarely saw her. 6 months, Iris said. 6 months, Maren echoed. And then you're coming home. I'm coming home. They kissed goodbye right there on the curb, not caring who saw, not caring what anyone thought. This was Maren's declaration, public, undeniable. Iris was hers, she was Iris's, and she wasn't hiding it. I love you, Maren said against Iris's lips. I love you too, so much. And then Iris was walking away, disappearing into the terminal, and Maren was alone in the parking garage with Iris's car and her heart in her throat. The first week without Iris was brutal. Maren threw herself into work, taking on new projects, redesigning offices and restaurants, and homes for other people while her own life felt hollow. She texted Iris constantly, photos of buildings, random thoughts, anything to maintain the connection. And Iris texted back, sharing images of New York, of the MoMA, of her tiny sublet in Brooklyn. But it wasn't the same as being together, as touching and talking and existing in the same space. The house on Willow Creek Road sold quickly. A young couple with a baby on the way fell in love with the bright open spaces. They talked about raising their child there, filling it with laughter and joy. Maren signed the papers and felt her mother's presence, somehow approving. Catherine helped her sort through Eleanor's remaining possessions. Most of it went to charity, but there were some things. Maren kept the journal, of course, and Eleanor's wedding ring, and some photographs from before everything fell apart. And then in a box in the back of Eleanor's closet, they found something else. A large manila envelope sealed with Maren's name on it in Eleanor's handwriting. Inside were dozens of photographs, all of Maren and Iris over the years. At their college graduation, at Maren's wedding, at casual dinners and coffee dates and working sessions. In every single photo, one or both of them were looking at each other with unmistakable affection. There was a note attached. I've been collecting these for years. Proof that love doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, waiting for both people to be ready. By the time you find these, I hope you figured out what I saw from the beginning, that Iris has loved you from the moment she met you, and that you've loved her back even if you didn't realize it. Don't lose her, Maren. Don't let fear or distance or anything else take this away from you. Fight for it. Fight for her. Fight for the love you deserve. Always, Mom. Maren sat on the floor of her mother's empty bedroom, photographs spread around her, and cried. For her mother who had learned too late. For herself and all the years she'd wasted not seeing what was right in front of her. For Iris, who had loved her through everything and asked for nothing in return. She called Iris immediately, not caring that it was midnight in New York. Maren, what's wrong? Iris's voice was thick with sleep. Nothing's wrong. I found something, photos my mom had been collecting of us over the years, and she left a note saying she knew. She knew we loved each other before we did. Iris was quiet for a moment, then, of course she knew. Eleanor was perceptive like that. I miss you so much it physically hurts. I know, I miss you too, but it's only been a week. We have 5.5 months left. That feels like forever. I know. Iris's voice was soft, sad, but we can do this. We're doing it. After they hung up, Maren gathered all the photographs and put them in a box. She would save them, show them to Iris when she came home. Proof that this love had always existed, had always been patient, had always been waiting for them to be brave enough to claim it. 2 months passed, then 3. The ache of missing Iris became a constant thing, like a low-grade fever that Maren learned to function through. They video chatted every night across time zones and distance, maintaining their connection as best they could. But it was hard. Maren started going to the coffee shop where she and Iris used to meet, sitting in their usual corner, working on designs while pretending Iris would walk through the door any moment. She walked past Iris's apartment, sometimes looked up at the dark windows, felt the absence like a physical thing. She dated herself, took herself to movies and museums, learned to be alone without being lonely. It was a lesson she needed, she realized. She had spent 2 years after her divorce isolated, and now she was learning that being alone and being lonely were different things. She could be alone and still be okay, could be herself without needing someone else to validate her existence. It was freeing in a way she hadn't expected. And then 4 months in, everything changed. Iris called at 2 in the morning Portland time. Maren answered immediately at heart racing. They offered me an extension, Iris said without preamble, another 6 months, to photograph a second exhibition. It's incredible exposure. Career-changing, really. Maren's stomach dropped. What did you tell them? I haven't answered yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Do you want to stay? I... Iris's voice broke. Maren, this is everything I've worked for. This kind of opportunity might never come again. But I also promised I'd come home in 6 months. I promised I'd come back to you. Take it, Maren heard herself say. What? Take the extension. This is your dream, your career. You have to take it. But that's another 6 months. That's a year total, Maren. A year apart. Well, I don't know if we can. We can. We will. Maren sat up in bed, turned on the light. Iris, listen to me. I've spent the last 4 months learning who I am without you. Learning to be okay alone. And I am okay. I miss you terribly, but I'm okay. And you need this. You need to know you can do this on your own without me holding you back. You're not holding me back. I know, but you need to know it too. You need to prove to yourself that you can have your own success, your own life, without always putting someone else first. Maren took a breath. My mother gave up everything for fear. You've given up so much for me. It's time you chose yourself. It's time you were selfish. A year is a long time. It is. But we've waited 10 years to get to this point. What's one more year if it means you get everything you've worked for? Iris was crying now. Maren could hear it. I don't want to lose you. You won't. I promise you won't. Because I'm choosing you. Even across the distance, even through the waiting, I'm choosing you. And I'll keep choosing you every day until you come home. What if things change? What if you meet someone? I won't. There's no one else I want. Just you. Only you. They talked for hours, working through the fear and doubt, making promises they both hoped they could keep. When they finally hung up, Maren lay in the dark, feeling scared and certain at the same time. This was love. The real kind. The kind that let go when it needed to. The kind that trusted even when it was hard. The kind her mother never got to practice, but desperately wanted for her daughter. 5 months passed, then 6, 7, 8. Maren redesigned 3 houses, won 2 awards, and learned to live with the constant ache of missing Iris. They talked every day, maintained their connection across the distance. But it was hard. Some days were harder than others. There were moments when Maren doubted, when she wondered if they were just prolonging the inevitable, when she thought maybe they had been foolish to think they could maintain a relationship across 3,000 miles. But then Iris would send her a photograph, the sunrise over the Brooklyn Bridge, with the caption, "Wish you were here to see this." And Maren would remember why they were doing this, why it was worth it. Because love didn't fit into convenient boxes, didn't follow the rules or timelines we set for it. It just existed, messy and complicated and real. And you either fought for it or you let it go. Maren was choosing to fight. The house on Willow Creek Road had new owners now. The young couple had painted the nursery yellow, filled it with stuffed animals and hope. Maren drove by, sometimes looked at the lights in the windows, felt grateful that something beautiful had come from so much pain. Catherine had moved to a small apartment downtown, sold most of her possessions, started traveling. Eleanor would want me to live, she'd told Maren, really live, while I still can. It was a lesson Maren was learning too, to live fully, to love bravely, to let go of fear and trust that things would work out the way they were meant to. And then, in the 10th month of Iris's time in New York, Maren got a package. It was large, flat, carefully wrapped. Inside was a leather-bound album, beautifully crafted with "Our Story" embossed on the cover. Maren opened it with shaking hands. Inside were photographs, dozens of them, all of her. But not just any photographs. These were moments Iris had captured over 10 years. Maren laughing at something off camera. Maren focused on a design, completely absorbed. Maren sleeping on Iris's couch after a long night working. Maren at her wedding looking sad even as she smiled. Maren after the divorce, broken and trying not to show it. And beneath each photo in Iris's careful handwriting were notes. October 12, 2014, the day we met. You were frustrated with your lighting, and I thought you were the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. May 3rd, 2017, your wedding day. I smiled for the photos, but inside I was dying. I wanted to stop you, wanted to tell you that you were marrying the wrong person, but I loved you too much to ruin your happiness. February 10th, 2022, 6 months after your divorce. You came to my apartment at 2 a.m. sobbing. I held you while you cried and wished I could tell you I'd been waiting for you all along. October 15th, 2024, the day at your mother's house, the day you finally saw me, really saw me. I almost kissed you then, but I was too afraid. December 8th, 2024, our first kiss in the hospital waiting room. The moment I stopped waiting and started living. Maren turned the pages, tears streaming down her face, watching 10 years of love unfold in images and words. Every photo was a confession, every caption a love letter. And on the last page, dated just 2 days ago, March 20th, 2025, I took this self-portrait in my Brooklyn apartment. I'm looking at the camera, but I'm thinking about you, always thinking about you, counting down the days until I come home. 2 more months, Maren. 2 more months, and then I'm coming home to you, and I'm never leaving again. I love you. I've loved you for 10 years. I'll love you for 10,000 more. Wait for me. Always yours, Iris. Maren held the album to her chest and sobbed. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming weight of being loved this completely, this patiently, this perfectly. She picked up her phone, dialed Iris's number. Did you get it? Iris asked immediately. I got it. Iris, I don't have words. It's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever given me. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I wanted you to know that. I wanted you to see yourself the way I see you. I love you so much. I know, I love you too. And I'm coming home. 2 more months. 2 more months, Maren echoed. I can wait 2 more months. But she didn't have to. 3 days later, Maren got a call from Catherine. I think you should come see this, Catherine said. See what? Just come to Eleanor's grave. Trust me. Confused, Maren drove to the cemetery. It was raining, of course. Portland never really stopped raining. Catherine stood under an umbrella, smiling mysteriously. What's going on? Maren asked. You'll see. And then Maren saw her, Iris, standing in the rain by Eleanor's grave, soaked through camera around her neck, looking at Maren like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. What are you doing here? Maren breathed. You're not supposed to be back for 2 more months. I know. Iris walked toward her slowly. But I realized something. I've spent 10 years waiting for you to be ready, waiting for the right moment. And I'm done waiting. The exhibition, they found someone else. I told them I needed to come home, that there was someone here I couldn't live without, someone worth more than any career opportunity. Iris, no, you can't just, yes, I come out because I chose wrong, Maren. When I decided to stay for the extension, I chose wrong. I chose my career over us, and every day I was gone, I regretted it. Every single day I wished I was here with you instead. Maren couldn't breathe. But this was your dream. You're my dream. Don't you get that? You're everything I've ever wanted. And I'm tired of putting you second. I'm tired of waiting. I want to be here. I want to build a life with you. I want all of it. Are you sure? Because once you choose this, you can't take it back. I know. And I'm choosing it anyway. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing us. Iris closed the distance between them. Your mother spent her whole life waiting. I don't want to wait anymore. I want to live. I want to love you openly and fully and without hesitation. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep beside you every night. I want the mundane and the extraordinary, and everything in between. The rain fell harder. Catherine had discreetly walked away, giving them privacy. They stood there in the cemetery at Eleanor's grave, two women soaked through and shaking. I love you, Maren said. I love you so much I don't know what to do with it. Then show me. Choose me back. Choose this. Choose us. Maren kissed her. Right there in the rain in front of her mother's grave, she kissed Iris like it was the first time and the last time and every time in between. Kissed her with all the love and fear and hope she'd been carrying for 10 months apart. When they pulled apart, both crying, both laughing, Iris said, I have one more thing. She pulled a small box from her jacket pocket, opened it to reveal two simple silver rings. I know it's too soon. I know we've only actually been together for a few months. But I've loved you for 10 years, and I'm not waiting anymore. Maren Cole, will you build a life with me? Will you let me love you for the rest of our days? Maren looked at the rings at Iris's hopeful face and at her mother's grave behind them. Be brave, Eleanor's voice whispered in her memory. Don't wait. Don't waste time. Yes, Maren said. Yes to everything. Yes to you. Yes to us. Yes to being brave. Iris slid one ring onto Maren's finger, her hands shaking. Maren took the other ring, slid it onto Iris's hand, sealing the promise between them. We're doing this, Iris said, wonder in her voice. We're doing this. They held each other in the rain at Eleanor's grave while Catherine watched from a distance and smiled. The sky wept with them, washed them clean, blessed them with its tears, and somewhere somehow Eleanor smiled too. Finally at peace, finally free. Her daughter had learned the lesson she'd spent her whole life trying to teach. That love was worth the risk, worth the fear, worth everything. 6 months later, they stood in the backyard of a small house in southeast Portland. Not the house on Willow Creek Road, but a new house. Their house. String lights hung overhead, casting warm light over the gathering of friends and family. Catherine was there, of course, and Marcus, who had become a friend. On Maren's colleagues, Iris's photography friends, people who loved them and wanted to celebrate them. It wasn't a big wedding, just a simple ceremony in their backyard officiated by a friend, witnessed by people who mattered. Maren wore a simple white dress. Iris wore a suit. Both wore the silver rings they'd exchanged in the rain at Eleanor's grave. I spent 34 years not knowing what I wanted, Maren said in her vows. And then I met you and suddenly everything made sense. You taught me how to be brave, how to be honest, how to let myself want things. You loved me before I knew how to love myself, and you waited while I figured it out. I promised to spend the rest of my life being worthy of that patience, of that love. Iris was crying before she even started her own vows. I loved you from the first moment I saw you, and I've loved you through every moment since, through your marriage to someone else, through your divorce, through your grief and your fear and your walls. I loved you when you couldn't love me back, and I love you now that you finally can. You're my best friend, my partner, my home, and I promise to spend the rest of our lives making you feel as loved as you've always made me feel seen. They exchanged rings again, the same simple silver bands now accompanied by matching wedding bands. And when the officiant said they could kiss, they did long and deep while everyone cheered. This was the life Eleanor had wanted for her daughter, the life she'd never gotten for herself, a life built on honesty and bravery and love without apology. That night, after everyone left, Maren and Iris stood in their backyard under the string lights, swaying to music only they could hear. We did it, Iris murmured against Maren's shoulder. We did. Your mom would be proud. She is. I can feel it. They danced in their backyard, in their house, in their life they'd built together, and the rain started again, gentle and soft, Portland blessing them in its own way. Maren looked up at the sky, felt the rain on her face, and smiled. Thank you, she thought. Thank you for teaching me to be brave. The rain continued, the lights twinkled, and two women who had learned to love despite their fears danced together into their future, no longer afraid, no longer waiting. Just loving, just living, just being beautifully, imperfectly, courageously themselves, together. Finally, epilogue. 1 year later, Maren stood in front of a new house, not to design it, but to photograph it. Iris had taught her the basics of photography over the past year, shown her how to see light and shadow, how to capture moments that mattered. This house was special. It belonged to the young couple who had bought the house on Willows Creek Road. They'd invited Maren and Iris over for dinner, wanted to show them what they'd done with the space. Inside, it was filled with life. A baby's laugh echoed from the nursery, children's toys scattered across the floor, photographs on every wall, love in every corner. Everything Eleanor had wanted the house to be. After dinner, as they were leaving, the young mother pulled Maren aside. "Thank you," she said, "for making this house so full of light. My daughter is going to grow up here. She's going to have a happy childhood in these rooms, and it's partly because of what you built." Maren thought about her own childhood in that house, the sadness, the unspoken truths, the walls that had kept everyone trapped. And now it was different. Now it was full of joy. "Thank you for giving it a second chance," Maren replied. As they drove home, Iris's hand in hers, Maren thought about second chances, about how her mother had gotten one at the end of her life, about how she and Iris were building their own, about how it was never too late to be brave, never too late to choose love over fear, never too late to start living. The rain fell, the city breathed, and Maren drove home to the life she'd built, the love she'd chosen, the bravery she'd learned. Home to Iris, home to herself, home to everything that mattered. Finally.